Welcome to Owning Pleasure as a Black Woman, the podcast for accomplished Black women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. I'm your host, Natasha Riley, licensed therapist and founder of Javer Integrative Wellness Services. This is where we move beyond talking about change to actually creating it. Every episode gives you practical tools to build a daily pleasure practice because you've already proven you can achieve anything. Now it's time to learn how to enjoy it. Ready to bridge the gap between knowing and doing? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Owning Pleasure as a Black woman. As usual, I am so glad to be here chatting with you about all things pleasure, self-care, and rest for the high-achieving Black woman. For those of you that have been here with me from the beginning, you know I always like to shout you out. I appreciate you all so much. Y'all are the reason I keep showing up for this thing, I promise you. And for those of you that are new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Natasha Riley. I am a licensed therapist with a group practice that solely focuses on helping and supporting high achieving Black women in every area of their life so that their lives look as good on the inside as they feel on the outside. So, welcome. I appreciate you for being here. Now, before we get into today's topic, I want you to do something. I want you to go to the show notes and I want you to click on the link and I want you to go ahead and start your 7-day self-care series, okay? Because that's what we need right now. We need regulated nervous systems. We need time for ourselves. We need boundaries. So before we even get good and started, go ahead and pause this, click on that, and get started. I have curated an email for the next 7 days for you. Very simple things, doesn't cost you any money. So go ahead and do that for me. And then when you're done, let me know how it went and let me know how you feel. Now let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So maybe in the past, you finally said no to something, but now you can't stop replaying the conversation in your head. You know, you were kind. You had a legit reason for saying no. You weren't rude, but your stomach is still in knots. You're checking your phone obsessively to see if they've responded, and part of you is already thinking about, how do I take my no back? Even though you know logically, intellectually, like in your brain, you know you had every right to decline. You had every right to say no. But your body is making you feel like you just committed a crime. Well, welcome everyone to the people-pleasing hangover. And if you're experiencing it right now, this conversation is for you. So let's talk a little bit about that awful feeling that you feel after you say no and how to sit with someone else's disappointment in you without fixing it. Now, if you're hearing this and you're spiraling, right? Like you are thinking about all the guilt and embarrassment and shame, just all the negative things that come with setting a boundary. I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you. This is absolutely normal. And I see it all the time with high achieving women, especially Black women who've been socialized to be accommodating, helpful, available, just for everyone's use except for their own. You can say no with your words, but your nervous system hasn't gotten the memo. Your nervous system is like, this is not safe. We are not allowed to do that. So it's the same way that your body would react if you were in true danger. It doesn't know the difference between it's a bear and we just made someone upset with us because we set a boundary. Then you start getting into ruminating. So you start replaying the conversation on a loop and you're looking for this proof that you did something wrong. Then you shift into the catastrophizing. What if they're mad at me? What if they think I'm selfish? What if this damages our relationship? What if we never talk to each other again? What if they're talking about me to other people? What if? This makes complete sense given how much you carry. Okay, this makes sense. When you've been the reliable one, the one people can always count on, the one who never complains, shows up at 100% for everybody, saying no feels like it's against your character. Like your identity has just been shot. And your nervous system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's keeping you safe. It is bringing you to a baseline in your relationship. Because on some real intense reptilian primal level, being rejected from your group, it feels life-threatening. it feels like the end of the world. It feels like you won't be able to go on. And for Black women especially, we go back to those voices and those narratives and those scripts that we've inherited that tells us that our value comes from what we give and how little we need. That strong woman archetype doesn't just suggest that we should be capable and carry it on our backs. It demands that we be endlessly available. We should never inconvenience anyone and certainly never prioritize our own needs over someone else's comfort. How dare we? Like, that's a sin. So when you say no, you're not just declining a request. You're actually going against generations, decades of conditioning that taught you your worth is tied to your usefulness and what you can do for people. So of course your body's gonna freak out. This is the people-pleasing hangover. It's that awful anxiety aftermath of setting a boundary. And it's one of the biggest reasons, hands down, the biggest reasons why smart, self-aware women keep saying yes to the things they don't want to do, because the hangover feels a lot worse than just going along with it. Now, let's talk a little bit about why this pattern exists and why it feels so physically uncomfortable in your body. This hangover isn't random anxiety. It is your nervous system responding to a threat to your safety. And for many of us, if we've grown up in environments where love is conditional, the brain learns early keeping other people happy keeps you safe. So maybe you expressed a need and it led to you having conflict. It was a withdrawal of affection, or you were labeled difficult. And maybe you've watched the women around you sacrifice their own needs to keep the peace. And so you internalize that as that's the price of belonging. That's what I have to do in order to have this community and have this support. You learn saying yes equals safety, saying no equals danger. So now when you say no, even to reasonable requests, it can be something so small. I can't take you there. I can't pick that up for you. Even when your body is screaming, we cannot do this. We don't have the capacity. We physically cannot. Your body activates the same stress it would if you were facing real danger, if someone was coming after you, if someone was breaking into your home, if they're truly a bear chasing you. So that's your racing heart. You've got the tight chest, the obsessive thoughts, and the urge, I need to fix this immediately. Not yet, like right now in this moment. But here's what's underneath the hangover. This pattern is trying to protect you from rejection, abandonment, and the loss of connection to others. Part of you truly believes that if you stop being endlessly available to everyone around you, that people are going to stop loving you. Your worth is directly tied to willingness to sacrifice yourself for others. I see it time and time again. My clients, my clinicians, students at work, they really struggle with, I would rather be completely uncomfortable than to make someone else uncomfortable, because the reality is they're worth it more than I am. The hangover is your nervous system's way of saying, warning, you might upset somebody, and that's dangerous. And so we need to fix this before we leave. And to be completely honest, the anxiety that you feel after the fact, it feels safer. It's comfortable. It's what you know. It's very possible for you to be comfortable with something that is severely uncomfortable because you don't want to deal with the unknown that happens when you disappoint somebody. But we have to talk about what this is actually going to cost you in the long run. You can't do this long term. This is not sustainable to never saying no. When you consistently override your needs to avoid other people's disappointment, you're teaching everyone around you and also yourself that you and your needs don't matter. Then you're building these relationships where your role is to give, to accommodate, to constantly adjust, while everyone else's comfort takes priority. And over time, this creates this invisible exhaustion. You're resentful and you don't know why, because technically no one has forced you to do anything you don't want to do. You said yes. You offered to help. You told them it was fine. So why do I feel like I can't stand this person right now? Or when they call my phone, I don't want to answer. It is a huge weight on me when this person calls my phone because I know they want something.
Listen, I need to be real with you for a second. You're here listening to this episode. Maybe you're not alone. You feeling seen. And girl, that's beautiful. But if you're like most of my listeners, you're going to finish this episode. You're going to feel all inspired for about 10 minutes and then go right back to your regular life where you're still putting everyone first. I get it. I've been there. But here's what I've learned: the gap between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it is where transformation lives. Now, if you're tired of just consuming content about self care and you're ready to start practicing it, not tomorrow, not next week, but starting today, I created something specifically for you. It's called the 7-Day Self Care Reset, and it's exactly what it sounds like: 7 days of simple, actionable steps that help you move from thinking about prioritizing yourself to actually doing it. No overwhelm, no complicated systems, just practical tools that work with your real life. You'll get permission to put yourself first, learn to recognize those inherited patterns that keep you stuck, and discover what your authentic desires actually are underneath all the expectations. This isn't about adding more to your plate. I'm not going to do that to you. It's about finally honoring what's already on it, starting with you. Ready to stop listening and start living? Visit javerywellness.com/reset. That's RESET. And let's do this work together. Because the woman who just listens and the woman who actually takes action, they live completely different lives. Now, back to the episode.
Because the reality is, friend, it wasn't fine. It was never fine. And now you're burnt out. You're disconnected from what you actually want. And you're terrified that if you're honest about your limits, you're going to lose everybody that you love. This people pleasing hangover keeps you trapped in a cycle. You say yes to avoid the discomfort of saying no, which leads to resentment, which makes you want to set a boundary. But when you finally do, the hangover is so unbearable that you either take back the boundary or to never do it again. And the cycle continues. Just like us, we all have had that time where we drank too much. We drank too much and we laid down and the room spent like a roller coaster, pure roller coaster. And we sat on that floor in the bathroom and we said, if you please get me through this, I will never drink again. I will not do it. I am changed if you could get me off this floor. And then about a weekend or two later, we doing it again. Same cycle. Same cycle. Now, the hangover isn't evidence that you did anything wrong. What you're feeling is not proof, which some of you have probably made it proof that you've done something wrong. It's not. It's evidence that you did something different. Again, your nervous system is designed to keep you safe by maintaining familiar patterns, even when the patterns are hurting you. So when you break something that you've been doing for decades, like some of you have been doing this for decades, saying yes to everything, your body is going to sound the alarm. The uncomfortable feeling isn't a sign to go back and fix the boundary, though. That discomfort is not for you to go back and undo what you just did. It's a sign that you're growing beyond conditioning that no longer serves you. So that uncomfortable feeling is actually stretching yourself. It's you moving yourself through your comfort zone. But, and this is very, very important, you cannot think your way out of a nervous system response. That is not what's going to get you to the other side. Now, let's first sit and talk about how we actually need to sit with someone's disappointment, someone's frustration, someone's anger with us without actually fixing it, because it's not your responsibility to fix it. Like, what they feel about your boundary is for them to go process. It's a skill. It really just is a skill. It's a muscle that you need to build. It's not just about saying no, it's about what you do when you feel the discomfort that follows. So this week, I want you to practice this. The next time you set a boundary and you feel the hangover washing over you, the guilt, the anxiety, the urge to be like, no, take it back. I want you to pause. I want you to ask yourself one question. Whose discomfort am I trying to manage right now? Whose discomfort am I trying to manage right now? Is it yours or theirs? Because here's what's often happening. One, you said no. And two, the other person is disappointed. That's their feeling. And they're entitled to their feelings, right? Like they're entitled to feel upset or feel disappointed. Like they're entitled to that. But instead of letting them experience their own disappointment and learning how to cope with their feelings, you immediately jump in to take responsibility for it. How are they going to learn? You're trying to manage their emotional experience so you don't have to be uncomfortable. So carrying your discomfort and theirs. We're not doing that no more. We're not doing that no more. So here's what you're going to practice. When you notice yourself spiraling after saying no, I want you to place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. And you're just going to take 3 slow breaths. And then you're going to say to yourself, I care about this person and let them have their own feelings. Their disappointment is not an emergency I need to fix. And I'm going to say that again. I can care about this person and let them have their own feelings. Their disappointment is not an emergency I need to fix. And in that moment, with your hand on your heart and your belly, your eyes are closed and you're breathing and you're saying this to yourself, notice what comes up when you say that. Does it feel impossible? Does it feel selfish? Does it feel mean? Don't judge it. It's all information. And that's the old version of you talking. That's the comfortable, conditioned version of you talking. Another question to sit with is, what would become possible in my relationships if people were allowed to be disappointed with me sometimes? Not because you were mean, not because you were cruel, but because you just happened to be honest about your capacity. What if disappointment wasn't the end of love? What if it wasn't the end of the relationship? What if it's actually the beginning of something that's a bit more authentic, a closer and tighter connection? Now, you don't have to try to answer this right now. It's just a reflection question, something that I want you to sit with over the next week. And there's one more thing I want you to notice. Pay attention to who in your life can handle your no with grace and who makes you feel like you committed a crime. When I tell you that data screams so loud, you need to know who is in your life because they love you and they truly appreciate you, and who is in your life because you were the person that was constantly showing up, constantly giving, constantly bending over backwards for them, and they never had to. It was less commitment for them because you would do everything. The people who love you, they'll be disappointed sometimes. And it's normal. We make mistakes. We upset people in relationships all the time. It's okay. But they're not going to punish you for having those boundaries. They're not going to give you the silent treatment. They're not going to guilt trip you. And they're not going to make you feel like you owe them an explanation for saying, I don't have the mental capacity today. I don't have the time today. Now, the people who can't handle their boundaries, those are the ones to watch out for. This is something to just notice. This is something I tell my clients all the time. By being serious about your boundaries, you start learning about the people that are in your life. It's some people that need to kind of make their way out. They are costing you more than they're worth. So just sit with that. Now, there's something important that I want you to name. Okay. A podcast episode, a book, anything. It can help you understand why this people pleasing hangover happens. It can help you see the patterns. It can help you recognize where it comes from and why your body responds the way that it does. It can help make you self aware. But there's a big difference between understanding the pattern and changing it safely. Two different things. Working with a therapist is where we can help you actually rewire these responses. So we can help you practice setting boundaries in real time and navigate that guilt, that anxiety that comes up. We can help you stay grounded when people come and push back or withdraw because you don't know what to do in those moments. You've never done this before. We can help you distinguish between healthy accommodation and self abandonment. And we can help you build a nervous system that can now tolerate other people's disappointment without trying to fix it or having like this collapsing moment. This isn't something that you have to do alone, though many think that they do and that they can't ask for help. And honestly, trying to change this deep nervous system pattern without support, it can sometimes make things worse. It can make the people pleasing worse because you're fighting against the old version of you and you're isolating that part of you. And that can be sad sometimes. And it can be, I miss the person that I used to be because there's a lot of things that I didn't have to know. Once you become aware and you pay attention, you're like, there's so much that I have missed about how people have been engaging with me, and that becomes really sad, and it can be very heavy. Therapy gives you a consistent, safe relationship where you can practice, 1, being honest, 2, knowing your limits with someone and that you won't get punished for it. And over time, slowly but surely, that rewires what your nervous system believes is possible. So if you've been listening to this and you're saying, okay, I'm ready. I need to stop carrying everyone else's emotions. I need to stop carrying everybody else's needs. I have something for you. Now, remember, I told you earlier about the 7-day self-care reset at jrewellness.com/reset. It is designed specifically for women who've been people pleasing so long, they've forgotten what they actually want. Day 5 specifically focuses on relational boundaries, the loving kind that actually protects your energy while deepening these connections that you want to have. Now, if you are ready to do more of like a deeper personalized support to actually rewire these patterns, our clinicians over at Javery Integrated Wellness Services work with women like you every day. And they are women like you because we don't just lean on the credentials behind our name. We also work off of our lived experiences. So you can complete the intake form over at javerywellness.com/get-started. No pressure, no urgency. It's just a clear next step whenever you're ready. And also, because y'all are a girl's girl, if this episode resonated with you at all, I would love for you to take 30 seconds to leave a rating and a review. It's going to help others who are stuck in this people pleasing cycle find this message as well. And we want this to go far and wide. So I want to thank you so much for listening again today. And I want you to remember, leave with this. The hangover isn't evidence that you did something wrong. It's just evidence that you did something different. You deserve relationships where your no and your boundaries are respected just as much as your yes. You deserve to take up space without constantly apologizing for it. So honor that. I appreciate you so much, and I will talk to you next time.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Owning Pleasure as a Black Woman. If this conversation sparked something in you and you're ready to take action, don't let that inspiration fade by Monday morning. Visit www.jrewellness.com/reset and start your free 7-day self-care reset today. Because the woman who just listens and the woman who actually takes action, they live completely different lives. Talk to you next week. Bye.